What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Comic-Con Podcast, Season 5, Episode 2, recording this on January the 9th. You know what's actually interesting? And I was doing some analytics, and I'm a little upset that we didn't catch this last year. Did you know that our Season 4, Episode 51 was our 200th episode?
Season 4, Episode 51
was our 200th episode. Because we did like 50, we did like 49 and then like 51, and then we did a full year, and then last year was like 50. So it all went to just exactly like that was the 200th episode.
We missed it.
No, it's actually pretty goddamn good, man. I mean, it's missed it because we didn't make a big deal about it. But
next up, we're doing 250.
Yeah, we'll do
renumbering, all new, all different Comic-Con podcast. Starting at episode number 1 issue. We're going all. It's new season, new issue 1.
Yeah, we're relaunching like Marvel. That's what we're doing here.
And we're going to change our races and our genders, and we'll come back, right?
So real quick before we get into comics, and I know, so Zach and I have started playing Elden Ring for the.
You started.
I started for the 3rd time to finally actually play the game, and you're actually, and then I got you to play the game.
Yeah, you talked about it too much, I was like, okay, and now I want to play again.
So 2 things. 1, I finally got to Coranian Manor, and I walked to the left, and then one of those giant creepy finger hands comes out.
They're the worst.
That thing was like weird as hell.
They're so creepy.
But you know, it's the coolest thing, and you didn't. I think this is one of the coolest like creatures in the game. Is when you go to the Church of Vows and you see the giant turtle with the Pope hat on.
Oh yeah.
He's so cool.
So that's the dude who also, like, if you mess up in the game, like if you kill, like if you mess up like a storyline, you can like absolve yourself there. I think. I don't know how it all works because
I think if you aggro them. Yeah, I don't think if you kill the people, but if you aggro like a certain NPC, that kind of takes that away. So
there's the other dudes who really, not to make this an Elden Ring thing, but first off, like, I played that game, platinumed it. I am an Elden Lord because I won, and so I am the Elden Lord. I never was really planning on going back, even when like the DLC came out. I was like, I don't know, I gotta get back into it because it's kind of a complicated game to kind of get going. And then you started talking about it, and I got like hyped, and I wasn't playing anything. I was like, let's do it. Let's go try it. And so now I'm like addicted again. I find like 20, 30 minutes I go and play. And honestly, it's way better now because I don't have to I'm not chasing a platinum trophy. I've already beat it. Like I can just kind of like explore and do things. It's more like free roam. But you know who else bad guys that are really creepy is in the Raya Academy. And there's they're almost like kind of the zombie guys who come out of the ground and they run towards you and grab you and like bite you and hug you and stuff. Like, those dudes suck too, man.
Yeah, they're annoying. Or those marionette guys that have like the
cage. Those guys are horrible. And they fire the arrows at you.
Yeah, those guys are bad
the worst. So anyway, Elden Ring
podcast. 2 years too late. I've been playing this game, but you know what? That's the best thing is like I can go on YouTube and find out how to cheese some of these bosses because. Oh, and here the last thing, the clergyman, the big beast that you give the death roots to.
Yeah, Garank. Yeah.
So I gave it to him the 4th or 5th time, and then he like attacked me, and I just went outside the place that he's at, and I used like death mist, and just kept shooting it in, and it just like kept draining his life and killed him.
Oh yeah.
That's where we're at as far as that. So.
That's half the game is just cheesing dudes because it's like, unless you're like a professional dodge roller. But yeah,
it's pretty bad. So that's some video game talk for the week. Let's kind of get into some stuff. Of course, let's get into them. We have a community question, and of course, we have to, of course, promote our favorite upcoming con, the King Kong Comic Show, March 22nd, 2025, at the APA Hotel in Isla, New Jersey. We will be set up there, myself and our buddy, V. Ken Marion, who you've heard on the podcast. He did our TMNT #1 exclusive. He'll be doing some sketches, so you can contact him pre-sketches. I'm sure he'll have prints and comics, and we'll have our book there as well. So definitely come March 22nd, APA Hotel. It's right off the Garden State Parkway. So if you're anywhere in the tri-state area, definitely come out. It's a good community show. All different vendors, nothing like these giant big vendors that set up at like big cons, stuff like that. It's, local guys with their collections for like the first time. So you get to really get some good deals because they just want to make money. So they don't want to be a museum. Yeah. So you have 2 community questions. One of them we're actually going to save for next week because we are going to give people a week for Creature Commandos. So because the last episode just dropped today, so we're going to have people a week to finish up that, and Zach also to finish it up. I did finish the season. So we'll talk about it next week, but we are going to do some reviews on some other stuff that's on the streaming services. But let's get into our other question from our buddy Mike the Beast. He goes, which villain from both DC and Marvel do you feel is underused and never used for a big idea for a crossover event in comics or movies?
Okay.
There we go.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay, so for Marvel, I think honestly, I mean, I'm gonna stick to what I know, right? I'm gonna stick to X-Men and Mr. Sinister in like a live action, and even like a big event, really, but across the board in terms of, I know he was more prominent in like the Krakoa age, and I know there kind of was a story even like right before Fall of Krakoa where it was like the 4 different Sinisters, but as like an actual like big bad overarching villain, we haven't had a Sinister storyline since like maybe Mutant Massacre, really, and even that was at the time, was pre-events necessarily for Marvel. But he's just a guy who has so much depth. I do feel like I'm not crazy about how he's really been written, like the past couple decade maybe. Like if you go back and you read like Mutant Massacre, or you read any of the Jim Lee X-Men stuff, or the Chris Claremont, he's very like evil and like menacing and scary. And like I'm not crazy about now they've made him a little bit more clownish in a way. Like he's makes jokes, and he's kind of like, oh, I'm so savvy and debonair and stuff like that. And like I'm not about that really. I like the old menacing, like Mr. Sinister, who's got the schemes and stuff like that. Like he was bad, dude, bad to the bone back in the day. So that would be my Marvel guy, for sure. So
okay.
Yeah.
Anybody for DC, or no? You're just gonna keep the Marvel. It's fine.
You go ahead. Let me give it some more thought because I couldn't really come up with one. Let me hear what you say.
Yeah, I figure for DC, I talked about it at the end of last year. For one of my favorite story arcs was the House of Brainiac, right? And Brainiac's been there, but they haven't used him in like an overarching, not just Superman, right?
Yeah.
He's always been in a Superman comic. He's never led an event. He's never crossed over into the Batman stuff, the Wonder Woman stuff. It's always just been Superman in Action Comics. That's really all you ever see Brainiac.
Yeah.
So for him to be in an event that's like a multi-tier event where it is something big, I think that's kind of the way to go with him. Obviously, movies, like he needs to be there. You go back and you watch like the animated movie, the Superman Brainiac, which is based off the Jeff Johns run, which is an amazing read. You kind of anything from the old days from watching like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, Superman, like Brainiac is just so cool, and there's so many iterations of Brainiac, through the years, right? So he's kind of like the Ultron. He's like Marvel's Ultron, but crazier and more sophisticated. The idea where he's got his own ship and he collects these cities from these planets, like that's cool, and that's what you want to see. You want to kind of see a more spread out cosmic event with Brainiac. Yeah, Green Lanterns don't even touch him. It's like weird.
Yeah, and now you're talking about it, I'm thinking like DC really only has like one villain that crosses all like titles, and that's Darkseid, right? Like even Joker to some extent. I mean, he doesn't really cross. You never see like Joker fighting like Green Lanterns and stuff. They're really, I mean, besides Darkseid, what villain in the DC universe? Everyone stays with their hero, right? Like their person that they fight against. In DC. I mean, Marvel's not much better to that extent either, but I mean, you will still see like Red Skull with the Avengers, but also like you had that Axis storyline where he was like the main villain, and it was X-Men, and it was everyone. Onslaught, you had Fantastic Four, Avengers, against them. So Marvel seems to have done that, like kind of villains cross the borders of teams and titles a little bit better than DC, it seems like. Yeah, Brainiac would be good. I'd like to see like Sinestro. Like that would be kind of cool. Like Sinestro like just like, you know what, dude, like I'm done with the Green Lantern Corps, and he like just or Earth in general. He's like just pissed and decides I'm gonna do something and I'm gonna attack all the enemies or all the heroes. Something like
Yeah.
that would be
I
kind of
mean,
cool.
yeah, you haven't seen that since the Sinestro Corp War and then the
Yeah,
War of the Green Lanterns, like all
Parallax,
the
kind of.
yeah, all the
Yeah,
Green Lantern Jeff Johns stuff, like,
yeah.
and
Jeff
those are
Johns
great to
again,
read.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, Jeff Johns, of course. But yeah, the going back, that would be, yeah, he doesn't really touch base with any of the non Green Lanterns.
yeah,
So
right. So I don't know. That's a good answer. Brainiac would be a good one.
yeah, definitely like to see that. So we'll see what happens. We'll see in James Gunn's universe.
That was
Villain's
Mike the
going to be.
Beast, right?
Yep.
Definitely not Bizarro, dude. Definitely.
Oh, he'll be coming at some point. He'll be on some DC show. All right. Thank you so much for the questions. Of course, you could always drop us questions on the TheComiCompodcast at gmail.com. You could always hit us up on our IG. Just want to make sure nobody else hit us up before I delete this. Appreciate it, everybody. And yeah, so we'll be talking about Creature Commandos next week, Paperweight, for your wonderful question. So, all right, let's get into some articles and reviews and comic books for the evening. So, we got Absolute Flash. They got dropped some news today over at bleedingcool.com. So, Jeff Lemire's Absolute Flash with a 15-year-old Wally West and Grodd. Jeff Lemire introduces a 15-year-old Wally West as Absolute Flash without the Speed Force, Barry Allen's unexpected role, and Grodd as a secret star redefine the Ultimate Universe. Nick Rabels and Adriano Lucas bring the life of Absolute Flash with vibrant art and colors. Absolute Universe, spinning out of the DC Heroes, is going to be coming out in March. What are we kind of thinking about, over the first three titles of Absolute and going with the fourth character realistically to come out is Absolute Flash?
Yeah, I mean, when it was announced first without any information, it was Jeff Lemire writing Absolute Flash. I was on board for sure. I was like, oh, awesome. This sounds great. Flash will be great. And even still, like I'm not prefacing by saying I'm not still on board. I'm still on board. I'm interested in there's two things I like about this. I like that it's like a 15-year-old, and I also like that it's Wally West. I think it's very interesting that you're having like an absolute, right? We have like everyone seems a little younger anyway, right? With Superman, Wonder Woman, even Batman. They're all like
Yep.
mid 20s, it seems like. I think it's kind of cool to have like a teenager in a role who's going to be like part of your Justice League, absolute Justice League potentially. How he's not going to have the Speed Force, that's kind of the big question mark, right? Like, what's he going to do, dude? I mean, is he just like a really fast sprinter? I don't know. That seems cool. I like the Grodd aspect. I love Lemire, man. So like, I'm here for it.
Yeah, and they talk about Wally West as the first and only Flash in this universe.
Which is cool. I liked that as well, because I don't want this to be like the Absolute Universe needs to be concise, right? Like, let's not have. I don't necessarily want a Bat family. I don't necessarily want the Superman family. I don't need 9 Flashes. Like, let's make it nice and concise, and then see what happens. Nice and
Yeah.
tight, right? What do you think?
Oh yeah, no. Jeff says, quote, over the last year or so, I've been working with Scott Steiner, Kelly Thompson, Denise Camp, Al Ewing, and Jason Aaron on building DC's Absolute Universe. In March, the next wave of books launches, and Absolute Flash will be among them. I am also scripting a top secret story in the Absolute Universe to be announced very soon. So that means we're going to get some type of event or crossover or Justice League, something, right? As these issues are coming out. So I would assume like next summer could be a little crossover with all these characters, build them in, at least get like 10 issues for the most part by next year. Obviously, yeah, we will have almost by next summer. We should have 10 issues of all these characters except for Flash.
Yeah, and we got Al Ewing writing Absolute Green Lantern, and Dennis Camp writing Absolute Martian Manhunter, which is kind of cool. Yeah, man, I'm digging the Absolute Universe.
Yeah. We, I talked about the Absolute Superman 3 last week. Obviously, we'll get into Absolute Batman this week for our reviews. But so we got coming out in March 19th. Make sure you get over and pre-order it at your stores. Definitely a lot of covers. I'm sure there's going to be some exclusive variants. So, Absolute Flash from the Absolute Universe in DC Comics. So, Good stuff over there.
Yeah.
Let's kind of keep it with our comic book reviews, and then we'll kind of talk some streaming service stuff. That's how we'll end the show. So why don't you kick us off with what did you like this week? What did you read?
Okay, let's see. What did I like? You know, a kind of meh, I guess, wasn't bad, but there was like a 4-issue crossover between Uncanny X-Men and X-Men, the raid on Gray Malkin. I was a little underwhelmed by this little crossover. I thought like not a lot happened. It was basically Rogue versus Cyclops. Obviously, we see the return of Xavier, and then you see like kind of some mysteries about some new characters that they're talking about, the Avians. But all in all, I kind of thought this was going to be a little cooler, especially since it's kind of like the first crossover of this new era of X-Men. So I was a little underwhelmed with that. Books I really liked this week. It was kind of a light week, but Geiger, amazing. Geiger was so good this week. Everything in that universe is just so good. We're going to talk about Absolute Batman together, I'm sure. So, I feel like there was something here that like really stood out. Well, I really liked Transformers this week.
I could not wait to read Transformers this week, man.
Yeah. Do you disagree? Did you like it?
Oh no, I loved it.
Oh,
I
okay.
love the
Cool.
combiners. I love
Yeah.
what they're going, where they're going, and how it ends was just that final
Right. How it
page.
ends. Yeah. That was good. And then like, look, this book came out this week, so I don't want to like not talk about it, but I already have talked about it because I had an advanced copy. Was the Lucky Devils. So
Yes.
Lucky Devils #1, such an amazing book. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. Charles Soule and Ryan Brown come back. Almost like, I don't want to call it it's a sequel in spirit, I guess, somewhat to like 8 Billion Genies, but not like a direct sequel or anything like that. But so cool. Talked about it a couple months ago. Definitely check that book out. Other than that, dude, like I said, I kind of missed just a few books I still have yet to read, but it's a little bit of a light week for me. So why don't you go ahead and take over?
Yeah. So I don't know if you. So I assume that you didn't either pick up or finish the Kill All Immortals.
No, you suggested it, but I never got around to it.
Okay. So yeah. So this is the 5th and final issue of the Viking lords of their immortality, and we get to see Freya and kind of what she's been going through over these past couple issues, trying to not make her family exposed to the outside world. And you have her brother Thor and a Loki kind of character, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good, concise story. The issue 5 has a ton of fights in it, just with this whole like Viking clan of the characters. But let me tell you, it did something that I did not see coming to set it up for either a new series or a continuation, like either a renumbering, or if it does still stay Kill All Immortals #6 and go somewhere else, because they do drop a name and go somewhere completely different, which I did not see. And the way it's explained of how they are immortals is very interesting. So now that I see this, I could see they could do multiple uh, heritages and lineages of certain characters. So I'll say that without giving too much away. But yeah, definitely if you get a trade, when the trade paperback comes out, or I'm sure if you go to a shop that has like all 5 issues, definitely pick it up. It's a fun read. Batman and Robin 17. I love talking about this. They're still battling Memento. Again, the whole dynamic with Damian and Batman, a lot of fun. Bruce and Damian are kind of in this issue, they're kind of at their wits end with each other. They're kind of separated, kind of what happened in the previous issues. Damien's kind of taking a back seat to help a little girl and kind of see what not his real grandfather, but his other grandfather, being Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne. And you know, I love reading books, and then you get to that final page and you get to see something and you're just like, hell yeah. Like, I'm so excited. So,
Yeah.
Batman needed some backup and Oracle calls in somebody, and I'm just like, yep, I cannot wait for the next issue. So did you read it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Oh,
like.
okay, so then you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I liked how like I thought it was really interesting because Damien's not typically an introspective type character. And so I loved how he finally he's usually like, let's run and gun and let's destroy everyone. And almost you have to like stop him from killing people all the time. So I thought it was a really great take on him to actually pose the question, which is posed to Batman a lot of like, hey, are we making the problem worse? Like this,
Mhm.
it's almost like the same thing you know in the Christopher Nolan Batman universe that like Gordon says to Batman at like the end of Batman Begins, like, you know, you're wearing a cape. They come with like automatics, you know, and like Robin kind of says the same thing, like, hey, are we making it worse? Did we up the ante? And now we're creating these psychopaths and like these people like there. And he's really trying to understand, like, is this the way we should be doing it? And so I really find it interesting. And I think they really did a good job because it's hard. It's very hard, man. And I'm not even like a writer, obviously. It's very hard to take a character and try to find a new avenue with them. And right, you've always had him with like Ra's al Ghul, and I thought this was a stroke of genius to have him like exploring Thomas Wayne, who never gets really much like game time, and
Mhm.
him kind of really leaning into Thomas Wayne as a person and like a role model. I think that's really, really, really good idea for someone like Damien because he is borderline a psychopath. Like you
Yeah.
need to kind of like ground him, right? Like you can't let him loose. He's like a dog on a chain, right? Like you really got to keep him tight. So I think that's cool, man. I've really enjoyed this run as well. It's been fun, like you said, back and forth, but it's also kind of hitting like great topics and yeah, I don't know. Great run.
It's
Great,
the
great run.
you I mean, you get it as a father, or
Mhm.
if people are even reading it as the father-son type of thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I get it because I've been reading Damien since he was first introduced from Grant Morrison, and he was
Mhm.
just an ass, right?
Yeah.
And then even, like, all the times for the most part,
He's an
the
ass. Yeah.
Batman and Robin run when it was, like, him and Dick for
Yeah.
a while, and then it was the New 52, like, he was always just, an ass Robin, right? Like, he
Mhm.
just, like
Yeah.
he
He's a
just was
pain in the
hated.
ass, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's like you really get to see a different side of it, and this series is really every issue is written so well, and it's very personable.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this is definitely gonna go down as a great series, I think, whenever
Yeah.
it ends. So, um, 2 other quick titles before, we definitely talk about, one, my pick of the week, and then one, we'll obviously talk about the absolute Batman. But, if you've been keeping up with Ultimate Black Panther 12, we finally get to have the war between Black Panther and Moon Knight.
Mm.
Um, Interesting stuff for sure. There's a lot of fear in Black Panther's heart. He's afraid to kind of fight because of some things that are, in his mind, his demons. And then some people kind of show up at the end to hopefully, hold him back, but won't spoil it. But if you have been keeping up, it's definitely been the second best read, maybe third best read. I mean, I know there's only like 4 titles for the Ultimate Universe, but I think I'm enjoying this more than I've enjoyed like a regular Black Panther and like the 616 universe, because they just realistically didn't know what to do with him, right?
Yeah.
He has a couple of issues and then they can't hold down a series.
Mhm.
Magic #1 was great.
Yeah.
I love Ileana.
I
Like
missed
she's
that
just
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's just like a cool character,
So awesome.
She it starts off with her in Alaska with her current X-Men team. She leaves, just goes and fights demons, and that becomes this whole demonic thing where she has to deal with her own demons, like with being Darkchild, right?
Mhm.
And there's this really cool character that's introduced, and the way his uh his abilities are, I guess, the way he uses his weapons. I won't really spoil too much on it, but it's a really interesting character. And then I don't know where it's gonna go. There's some stuff at the end where I don't know if it's a symbiote or
Hmm.
Gore, or no, not Gore, Null. It's setting up something, and I could be wrong completely, but I really wanted to see where they're gonna go with like this whole Dark Child thing. So, before I get to my pick of the week, let's do the Absolute Batman. What did you think of
Okay.
Absolute 4?
I loved it.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed it. I liked the back and forth. I kind of liked the blast of the past with Bruce and explaining like this like science project or whatever kind of school project he's working on, and how he's talking about the bat and he's using it as like a metaphor to uh, how he's handling things as Batman, and like why he is the way he is, like why he's jacked up, like massive dude, why his suit is so like multifunctional, and the idea behind that, the idea of like even like why the Batmobile is like as big as a building, like stuff like that. So I really like that. I really enjoyed this issue for sure. The Joe Chill moment at the end was pretty like, I thought that was pretty gangster. How he's like, I'm not going to talk. Like I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but it flashback to like the court scene. He's like, I want to talk before he talks because I don't want to hear anything he has to say. And so Bruce gets up there as a kid and speaks his mind, and then like it happens off panel, but he leaves the courtroom, and then it flashes forward to when he's a little bit older and he shows up to like speak to Chill in jail, and you can tell Joe Chill's kind of like a little taken aback by it. And Bruce is like, "You had something to say?" That was like a mic drop. I thought it was really cool. So
yeah,
yeah,
good issue for sure. It was weird, kind of seeing that year one, like the way he wanted to be Batman, right? Like because that's even like how people interpreted Batman. It's a
right.
guy, it's a vampire
The
bat, and
fangs,
like
yeah, that was
yeah,
cool. I like that.
he tried to do that, and
He had like poisonous fangs. That's really interesting, dude. I was like, he's like, oh, and I bit him, and it had like poison in it or something.
yeah, so I thought that was pretty good. But pick of the week, and I did not see it coming. Aquaman 1.
Oh, I plan on reading that. I'm glad you said that, dude, because I was kind of I'm an Aquaman fan first off, and I'm glad you said that. That makes me really definitely gonna pick it up.
Yeah,
Let's
so
hear.
I mean, I love the art. John Timms is the artist. I
Mhm.
love John's art. He does amazing colors. It's great artist, great lines. Very concise with all of his characters. So it it's picking up after this, after the last event. He's still king of Atlantis. He's actually gained some new powers, so he actually has similar powers to what Mara has. So that hydrokinesis,
Mhm.
and he's trying to learn that through Mara, like how to control it. Some things happen in this issue, and he actually ends up having to go to the Justice League for help. Goes to Diana, goes to Batman, and goes into some portal to kind of save Atlantis. And the name of the storyline or story arc, is called Aquaman the God Killer. So uh, let me tell you that again, and it's always again the last page.
Mhm.
It's going to be interesting where it's going to go.
Oh, cool,
Um,
man.
yeah, maybe I'll tell you offline like where what it ends at, but I don't want to spoil it here. But I highly recommend right now the Aquaman series because it's been Aquaman doesn't get a lot of love. There's always like little mini series,
Mhm.
but I think with John doing the art, and I think it's Jeff Baker is the writer.
Jeremy
Jeremy
Baker.
Baker, yeah, Jeremy Baker. Uh, it's going to be this first story arc is going to be very interesting. So,
Cool.
and I mean, Aquaman just you know hits it out of the park for issue one. So definitely give it a try. It's a relaunch. So if you're looking for something different in the DC world, um, it's not Jason Momoa Aquaman anymore.
Mhm.
It's a good old Arthur Curry, blonde hair, short blue eyes guy. So
Yeah. And some honorable mention, or not honorable mentions, but I don't think either one of us got to Daredevil Unleash Hell,
yeah,
which
I unfortunately I did not.
you might hear us talk about that next week. That's definitely a book I'm gonna read. So
Mhm. Cool. All right. Let's kind of kick it into some reviews. So we, over the Christmas end of the year holiday, they had the What If season 3, and last month as well, you had the Secret Level. We kind of briefly talked about that on Amazon. Let's kind of start off with Secret Level. So Secret Level did 2 drops. They had 15 episodes. They dropped like the first 8 episodes like the first or second week of December, and then like the following week it dropped the final whatever 8 episodes, 7 or 8 episodes for season 1. Um Overall, if you're a video game guy or girl, uh I think these were just so much fun to watch. It's a lot of Sony products, I guess, because you get like Sifu, you get the Armored Core, obviously, well, Mega Man's kind of the Capcom stuff, but Uh, one of them is Concord. Concord was a game that busted after like 2 weeks on like the PlayStation that they actually had to take down and got recalled, which is hilarious. But I mean, overall, as a gamer, I loved it. I can see complete. And first of all, just watching a lot of these episodes, the the CGI looks so realistic now. It's like watching more than a game. It is really watching like a movie. Like there's this one episode. Which episodes did you get to watch? When I came and saw you, I get to watch the Mega
Yeah,
Man. But
the Mega Man and the Dungeons and Dragons for sure. The two full ones I watched, and then I kind of cruised a few. I couldn't tell you which ones they were. It's a very cool concept, but I think you and I talked about it offline. I need to watch the Pac-Man one. You said that one was awesome.
oh yeah, I mean the Pac-Man one is just wild. Trapped in the they're
Yeah.
trapped in the maze, and it's all about hunting the ghosts. But there's this. It's like a warrior. It's
Mhm.
a warrior that's hunting and trying to survive by like fighting these demons and eating them. But there's like a hidden agenda there. But the Armored Core episode is by far it was just awesome. Like it's Keanu Reeves. It's
Mhm.
Keanu Reeves in a giant mech fighting other mechs. It's just fast paced. If you've ever played an Armored Core game, it's amazing. Probably the most realistic episode was Crossfire, which I don't know what game it is, but it's just a very militaristic kind of an espionage type of thing where this guy has a briefcase and they're trying to get out of the city, and in the city there's like a hurricane happening. So there's like two teams that are trying to get to this guy to get whatever is in the briefcase. But I mean, it looks beautiful. Like it
Hmm.
looked like a real movie for um Outer Worlds. Again, I talked about it briefly as well. Outer Worlds is like one of my favorite Obsidian games. Obsidian did the Fallout New Vegas before that. So it's very quirky. It's very comedic. The Warhammer 40K looked beautiful as well. I'm not a 40, I'm not a 4K, I'm not a Warhammer 40K fan, but I definitely think when the Henry Cavill stuff comes out, I'll enjoy that. Unreal Tournament was another one that was. Uh, I mean, shit, Unreal Tournament's been around for so long. Like I've played it on PC and consoles for
Mhm.
the longest time. Um, Probably the one that really got me though was it's called Exodus Odyssey. It's about a father and daughter, and the way it goes is the daughter leaves with her leaves with some guy like a pirate or just like some no, he's like a rich kid, and the way they travel in space is through jump ports. So what's happening is his the father uses the jump ports where they can go from point A to point B in a less time, but his daughter goes around about and doesn't use these jump points, so time travels slower. So by the time that he gets to where they are, time is already passed. So initially she's only like 8 years old, and then the next time you see her she's like 20 years old, but he's only aged like 1 year. And the
Mhm.
way they explain it, they'll say like I forget the names of the two characters. They'll say, oh, it's 41 years for her, and then like 1 year for him, right? And then like as the episode goes on, by the end of the episode she's as old as he is. So it's
Hmm.
like um, but again, it's her trying to. She's like a treasure hunter, and she's trying to find these things, and he's just trying to find her. He's just trying to get back to find his daughter, and he's always missing her at different points. So, um,
Interesting.
it's definitely fun for sure. I mean, they all have their own little quirky things, but the Exodus Odyssey was definitely one of my favorite ones. So, if anybody's got Amazon Prime, check it out. 15 episodes. Some of them are pretty short. Zach and I watched the Mega Man one, and it's so quick, right? It
It's
was
like
like
8 minutes. Yeah.
yeah, and then you get some of these other episodes that are like 15, 20 minutes, and you're like, "What? Mega Man? Everybody wants to see Mega Man. Like, why can't we get along?"
Yeah. For sure.
So weird stuff there, but I know they're going to be doing a season two. They're going to be bringing a lot more of the properties in, especially on like the Sony side. We get a brief cameo of Kratos, but it's nothing like amazing.
Mhm.
I'd love to see Monster Hunter. I'd love to see more of the Mega Man stuff. I'd love to see any of the Sony stuff. Like, give me more Capcom stuff. Give me Resident Evil. Give me Metal Gear. I'm sure they'll do like a Death Stranding. Who knows? But Secret Level over on Amazon Prime. And then
Cool.
let's finish this off with the What If season 3. What If season 3, the final season. Um, it's tough, man. Leading up to this season, I went back and I binged real quick. I binge watched 1 and 2, right?
Okay, that's wow. Okay,
And well, because they're quick, right? I mean,
yeah,
like you could blow through them. I really feel like first of all, I feel like they blew their load on like season 1 because like
yeah, oh yeah,
that whole season 1 and by the end of it with Ultron and just the Guardians of the Multiverse was just like amazing, right?
hmm
Season 2 kind of had some cool episodes. There was I feel like some of the episodes were more interesting than others. Like, I mean, the first one right off the bat, like with Nebula being kind of like a Blade Runner noir type storyline, was well, like one of my favorites in season 2. And again, the new Kahori's in there. You bring back Peggy. There's the 1862 episode, right?
hmm
But I mean, that first season just was like hit after hit. This season, I don't know, man. It took me till the last 2 episodes to finally like really like this season. Like
yeah, yeah.
the
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
just the what if Agatha went to Hollywood. I completely like was skipping through this episode. The Howard the Duck and Darcy episode is another one that I was just like, ugh, like I'm skipping through it. What did you think?
Yeah,
What,
so first off, kind of like the first two seasons, I think what was so strong about the first season was they weren't creating new characters, right? Like they were really sticking to the formula of what if is, which is what if they would have gone left rather than right. You know what I mean? Like that kind of idea. Season two, like the idea of like trying to like make new characters like the Kahori, like I wasn't really about that. Like that's not what if. Like what if we created a new character? What do you mean? What if you did that? Like just do that. Like
Mhm.
I don't know that I didn't really like that. I'm not done with this season yet. I watched I think I'm on the fourth or fifth episode. Um I enjoyed, let me see, I'm looking at a list right here. The What If the Hulk Fought the Mech Avengers? I honestly was like, like whatever, dude. I don't know. It's kind of just how is that anything different? It's basically just the Avengers, a different team, and they're in mech suits. So that's it. Like, yeah, you're right. What if Agatha went to Hollywood? I thought that was pretty lame. Like it really was hard to watch. I enjoyed the What If the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier. I thought that was a
Mhm.
cool combination. Like that's kind of like a good what if story. Like, hey, what if these guys kind of ended up together? Like, I liked that, and I mean, I like the character Red Guardian. Obviously, I love David Arbor, Sebastian Stan is Bucky. I thought that was a really cool story. I liked how they had Goliath in there. Um, I enjoyed that one. I thought it was funny. I thought it was pretty cool. Really liked that one. You had told me about the what if Howard the Duck got hitched before, and I remember like being like, "Oh gosh." I'm gonna be honest though, like I hated it. I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to. Like there was aspects of it I kind of enjoyed. Um, I liked the big grandiose aspect of it with like all the villains, everyone coming back, kind of type thing. I thought that was kind of cool. Um, Granted, the whole once again creating like a new character, this birdie character who shows up later, in the episodes. Like I don't really, I don't know. I guess um, I'm just not really. I don't know, man. It's not. It doesn't really feel like it's not like the what ifs from like what we grew up with, or like what
Mhm.
what if was about. Like what if Phoenix didn't die, or what if Doctor Doom wasn't scarred. Stuff like
Mhm.
that. Like the actual like what if the Fantastic Four had been cured.
Yeah.
Real genuine what if storylines.
I mean, it goes off the rails pretty quick, and then they try to rope in more of the newer phase characters, right? Like Riri, like what if the
Yeah.
emergence
I think that's
happened?
part of it too, right? Like Sam, like putting Sam to the forefront as well. Like you're following, there's an agenda. And I don't mean like the agenda of like, like the bad agenda, but you can tell there's the agenda of Marvel MCU and it makes sense. Like I get it. You're pushing your properties, like you're trying to phase out Thor, Cap, Iron Man. You're trying to get these new characters in there, but it never felt genuine to me, right?
You look at it like, does anybody care for Howard the Duck and Darcy? Like, where was Kamala Khan? Where was Hawkeye? Where was,
It's
you
weird
could have
Kamala
done
wasn't
Wicked
in
and
there.
Speed.
Yeah.
You could have done shit. I mean, who else? Yeah, they threw in Shang-Chi. The Riri episode is, I didn't like it in the beginning, but and it took me a while, like, and at this point it's spoilers, people, so I'm sure you've watched it, but like when they were like, "Oh, Quentin Beck," I couldn't think
Mhm.
of who Quentin Beck was for like a while. But then I'm like, this is cool. Like this is really interesting. And but again, like it's pushing these newer characters that we've only seen, very briefly, right? Like
Mhm.
she just has that. Like, why couldn't they do Shuri? Like, where was she? Or
Yeah.
even Yelena? Like Yelena's been in more stuff
Yeah.
prior to this, right?
It's also not a very good look to have, like, a character like Riri, who we've seen for a small amount of time in one movie, and then you're already pushing, like, an alternative story of her. Like, dude, we don't even know her yet,
Mhm.
Like, there's no, like, mainstay story of her in this universe, and you're already spinning off, like, a side story. Like, I don't feel like that's good a great idea to how are you gonna have people, like, invested in this character, you know?
I mean, you get the Kate Bishop Hawkeye, but like, did we need the old West Kate Bishop and Shang-Chi, and then especially introducing the Hood, who we
Mhm.
are going to see in the Ironheart show, but it's
Not the
nobody
version
under
you're gonna see, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
not the version you're going to see. Nobody really understands it, and because even the Hood, for people that know the Hood is it's the Hood, it's the cape, it's what possesses the cape. Like this is not it's not what the Hood is.
Yeah.
So
Oh, and one other thing about the episode, this bugged me. The episode, the Darcy Howard the Duck episode at the end, right when like the eggs destroying everyone or whatever.
mhm,
Like, look, man, and this isn't because like I'm a dad now or anything. I think this makes sense though. Like my gripe here at the end of this episode or at that part of the episode, Zeus is like, "Oh, I better get out of here. I got an orgy to go to."
yes,
And I
yep,
heard that and I was like, "Are you kidding me, dude? Like, what are we
yep,
doing here?" Like,
mhm,
you could have said anything. You could have said anything, anything, anything. You could have said, "I got a party to go to," or "I've got a gladiatory or gladiator like, fight to go to." And they said orgy in a
mhm,
Disney show, in a
yep,
cartoon,
yep.
and like, and so this was my issue with this too, as well as not only is that completely inappropriate, but also this whole defense that like, okay, the community out here who's like, you guys, you're hating on Kamala or Riri or it's not for you. It's for the younger people. Okay. Well, so this is exactly what we're talking about here. So like, why would you do if this is supposed to, if you're trying to get like a new crowd and new people and you have this, like, I'm thinking about like my nephew watching this and like, I've seen, there's words when I've been around my nephew who's like, 9 or 10 and you say something. He's like, what's that? And now there's the internet, bro. You think what's he gonna type in Google orgy and
Mhm.
what's gonna show up? It ain't gonna be the band. I tell you that much. Like, like, and it's not gonna be old Greece, oh, Greece, orgies. And then some idiot out there will be like, well, that's like a cultural thing for ancient Greece. That's not what everyone's thinking about, dude. No one's thinking about
Mhm.
that shit when they say orgy. That was inappropriate, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I could when I heard that, I
I
was
was
in the
like,
same thing.
what?
I was waiting. That's why, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it would have been the next thing that I was going to say regarding that episode. That was the most, and it was clear as day. It was
Clear as
clear as
day.
day.
Yeah. I got an
But
orgy to go to.
yeah,
Yeah, what? Yeah.
luckily the last two episodes kind of save it, but again, it brings it back to the whole series has been about Peggy, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it was kind of leading up to the Watcher breaking his oath and helping them, and we finally get a mutant in there, right? We get Storm.
Mhm.
Um, it's weird because Birdie's now older. Birdie's a teenager and has the powers and stuff like that. Um, so it's just very confusing to because in episode 4 she's just born and then all of a sudden it's
Yeah, right.
years later, uh, different universe. Trying to
Care
think.
about this character is what they're trying to tell you. Hey, care about
Hmm,
this character we just introduced.
yeah. So, I mean, overall, I don't know. This season, I'd probably go back and just watch like the last two episodes, maybe the Riri one, but just because it's interesting as far as the nanotech and how
Mhm.
Quentin took over instead of kind of Tony, which I thought was and that's it kind of reminded me of reading the old man Doc Ock. like towards the end when like he
Okay.
dies and like takes over Peter's body. Like that's what it reminded me of. Like he's just so old and ancient, and the only thing that's kind of keeping him alive is the nanotech, which is pretty cool. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, I probably wouldn't go back to a lot of these episodes. I mean, I get the first episode is all about the Marvel Mech Strike stuff, but I mean, that's not even like a big popular comic. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, I love my giant mechs, but
Yeah.
so overall, I would probably it's definitely at the bottom of the pack for the Marvel What If series as far as even everything that's on the streaming service on Disney Plus and Marvel. It's definitely on the lower half of the mix of live action and animated stuff. This is the way we had amazing X-Men 97,
Mhm.
and then this is kind of how we're rounding out the year was What If. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Um, when are we getting What If's the Marvel zombies? Like
Oh,
when is the
yeah.
zombies coming
Yeah.
showing up? Like they're getting their own show. Like let's get this popping. Like I really want to see that. I want to see the the Wakanda, the what's it called? Black Panther.
Armor
What's
War. Oh, yeah. Wakanda Forever one or whatever.
yeah. I can't think
I
of
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
the animated series. What's it going to be called?
Warriors of Wakanda or something like that. Is that what it is?
Eyes of Wakanda.
Eyes of Wakanda.
Yeah, that's what they got right now. Yeah, Eyes of Wakanda. So, well, that's it for reviews. Quick
Yeah.
episode this week.
Yeah.
Not too much going on in the world of comic books. Hopefully, Zach and I kind of had we were on a call before this for about an hour
Yeah.
discussing some future changes for the
Yep.
podcast. That is actually longer than this episode. So,
Right. Yeah. We had a busy yeah. Some changes may be coming up, guys. So
yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Things for the better.
yeah.
But it'll still be us. It'll still be the Comic Con podcast. Well, I appreciate it. We appreciate it. Thank you all for listening wherever you're listening to, either Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you're at. As always, we end with our sponsor, Sidekick Supplies. Go out and buy some Sidekick Supplies. They have some awesome stuff, and use the discount code. See you all next week.
Later.
Hey, comic book collectors. Do you want to protect what you collect? Do you hate when your comic books slide around in your short box, or you need to turn them sideways just so they don't bend or fall over? Well, look no further than Sidekick Supplies. Their product fits firmly inside your comic box, so you don't need to worry. And not only is their product made in the USA, but also ships free directly to your doorstep. Check out our sponsor, Sidekick Supplies, at sidekicksupplies.com and use the code ComicCon15 for 15% off your purchase. Believe me, you'll be ordering more than one.